Thank you. For those of you who are coming to have a listen to our talk, we're going to be speaking with Jeroen Klerkx from Picnic about growing the team. I think welcome, first of all.
Thank
I
you.
think everybody here in the room is probably really well aware of all the hyper growth that Picnic has been able to go through over the last couple of years. And you run talent operations for the warehouse and logistics organizations within Picnic. And that presents its own unique challenges given the nature of the work and sort of the scale of those businesses, those organizations. So I'm really, there's definitely some scale-up founders in the audience here, and obviously folks that are looking to work at scale-ups. So it'd be great to understand a little bit of, how your talent recruitment strategy has evolved over the years. You've been with Picnic for 5 years. How was it before when you joined, and how is it now?
Yes, thanks for having me for sure.
Yeah.
And good afternoon. So I joined Picnic, let's go back.
Way
Bit back
back.
in time, yeah. So 6 years ago, I joined Picnic, and we had one fulfillment
6 years,
center.
wow.
6 years, yeah. And we had one fulfillment center in Nijkerk. It's a very small, beautiful village in the middle of the Netherlands. And we had some hubs, and we were just setting up operations. So we were delivering the first orders. And after a while, operations were quite stable. So we have this drive within Picnic. So Michiel and Joris said like, hey guys, come on, it's time to scale up. And from there on, of course, we are a tech company, but for sure we're also a people-driven company. Yeah? So we had to hire a lot of warehouse employees, we call them shoppers, and delivery guys, we call them runners. So today I'm also talking about
shoppers and
runners.
runners.
Yeah, runners.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Fancy names. So today we're also talking about high-volume recruitment.
Yeah.
And in the first place, we didn't have a lot of knowledge and capacity, so we started collaborating with these big temp agencies in the Netherlands, right? You all know them, like Randstad, Young Capital, and many more. And after a while, we were collaborating with 7 big temp agencies in the Netherlands.
Wow.
And in the beginning, it worked quite well. They had a lot of knowledge. They were providing these applicants. They were supporting us. But we already knew after a while that this was not really a scalable solution. And actually, due to 3 reasons. First of all, we needed like 7 temp agencies to get our weekly starters in. It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
So we also had to deal with 7 processes, 7 contracts, 15
boy.
recruiters, 7
50.
account managers, like plenty of people. And last but not least, like this, all these temp agencies, they lack a lot of insights in data. And you need data to optimize your processes on a constant basis. So we thought we can do this better, and we think this quite often, maybe too often. So what did we do? We did, in a nutshell, we did 3 things. First of all, we moved our top-notch marketeers from the customer acquisition side, because they are mainly there, to recruitment marketing. And they start creating ads, campaigns on Facebook, Google, Instagram, job boards like Indeed, but also the long tail of job boards. Secondly, we took a paper and we just designed our process from application to start. And we didn't limit ourselves to outdated assumptions or current systems. So we drafted that process, and then afterwards we start designing the vacancy text, the landing page, an ATS, applicant tracking system. We set up a recruitment team. We added an enrichment flow in the process to already ask some questions, like hard questions, to immediately reject people, for example, if they were not able to work a specific number of hours. And we implemented a recruitment event. And by doing this, we were actually able to eliminate this 6-7 temp agencies within 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So it's working quite well. And I think what's key to mention is that, especially nowadays during the very tight labor market, it's key that you provide a great applicant experience. So we keep the time between applications and start as short as possible, like maximum 2 days. So
2 days?
2 days. So
wow.
if someone applies, we have the golden rule to call someone in 2 hours. If we're not able, we are shifting recruiters, we're scaling up our team, so we immediately call them. And this is one example. Another example is that we would like to plan someone for an event, also the same day or the next day, if this person is available. If we are not able to do so, we need to scale up the number of recruitment events. So we need to adapt to, and to do so, you need to have a lot of data and insights.
Yeah. Wow, so you've given us, Picnic is clearly a very data-driven organization, and you've given us a bit of a peek into that already. And I think we also talked earlier today about managing your own recruitment process. So probably, especially those founders that are in the earlier stages, are looking for any sort of tips and tricks on what are key levers that they can pull in order to sort of best optimize their costs and conversion of their recruitment practices.
Yeah.
So I know that you've done a lot of experimentation around this. What sort of tips can you share in terms of learnings?
Yes. So we are talking about high volume recruitment. So I
Yeah.
talk about way more than 100K applicants per year.
100,000 applicants per year. I'll
Yeah.
just say that,
Yeah,
just to let it sit on people for a moment.
Yeah, a
That's
few
incredible.
more. So we need to have a lot of data, and then
Yeah.
to give a bit of insight, I can discuss like 3 types of levels.
Yeah.
First of all, in terms of recruitment marketing, our team is doing a lot of A/B testing to constantly improve the ads and the campaigns. We build our own dashboard to define the budget on a monthly basis to get exactly the number of applicants in at lowest cost
And
per
this is
applicant.
all your own environment, I'm
Yes,
guessing.
so we build it
Okay.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're building a lot of stuff ourselves. And there are a few golden rules, but I can emphasize 2 of them. First of all, don't make your target setting too specific, because in most cases the algorithm of Facebook and Google, they do their job. Yeah? And secondly is that you need to keep your starter target quite stable. So don't push the gas pedal too much, and don't do like this, because there's no linear relationship between the number of applicants that you need and the cost per applicant. So to give an example, within Picnic estimate, if we decrease the number of applicants with 10%, the average cost per applicant will decrease with 20%. So you need to stabilize it. Secondly, what we did, we hired a lot of good analysts, and most of them studied in Delft. And we gave them the exercise to create insights in the complete funnel. So from application to screening call, to planned in for an event, to attendant, to hired, to started, to survive first week, and many more. And what we would like to know is actually 3 things. First of all, we need to know the number of people in each stage. We need to know the average time that an applicant is in each stage. Because this is very important actually for 2 reasons. First of all, you need this information to steer on a day-to-day basis. Like I already said, like if there are too many applicants in, or the time that they stay in a certain stage increases, we immediately need to act and need to change our team. And secondly, it enables you to really define the bottlenecks in your process and to come up with mitigations and improvements to constantly on a week-by-week basis improve the process. And nowadays we also have the big advantage that we have a lot of locations in NL and also Germany, and France is starting up, and we're standardizing all the processes. But you also have a lot of best practices between different locations which you can apply to all locations. And then the third element is of course the applicant experience. And not only having insights in the applicant experience, but also in the first weeks. And we also need to know the exit reasons of people who are leaving in the first weeks. Because this is a very valuable feedback loop to improve your process.
Yeah.
Because, for example, within Picnic, I have a lot of examples, but I will only tell some of them. We saw that in the first week, a lot of people found the work very physical demanding. And of course, we are implementing like automated picking cards. But this was not enough, because we should also give them a good picture in advance. So instead of this recruitment event, we implemented a work sample test. In Dutch, we say meewerkdag. And we call it a shopper experience day. So an applicant now go for 4 or 6 hours on the floor, joins an experienced shopper. They already connect and bond a bit, and he or she can really experience the job. And this has also a very positive impact. So we constantly try to improve the process. So that's a bit in a nutshell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the data side of things and how you can use that to best optimize for costs and conversion. But I know that you also have put a lot of emphasis on the human side of things. So maybe could you talk a little bit about like the fact that these are humans, these are people that we want on the team. How do you balance that? The looking at it from a data perspective, a numbers perspective, but making sure that when you are so successful bringing people on board, that they actually stay on board and feel connected and remain with Picnic.
Yeah. It's a very good question, because there's a big risk that you are only looking into the numbers, right?
Yeah.
But they can help and support you. So I think this is a very interesting question, especially nowadays due to the fact that the labor market is very tight.
Yeah.
And also in the newspapers, you see that a lot of companies, especially also in the grocery market or the 50 minutes economy, are jumping in this well-intended quick fixes. Yeah? And I'm referring here a bit to this transactional, for example, financial perks. So you saw a lot of newspapers saying company X provides a bonus if you stay 500 hours. Or they're just providing money for people to stay a specific number of time. or they start offering discounts or perks or benefits. But at the end, these transactional factors or ties, they don't work. And do you know why?
Tell me.
I will tell you for sure. No, so at the end, the employee has the feeling that their real needs are not met.
Yeah.
They feel a transaction instead of appreciation of a sense of belonging, right?
Yeah. Is that something that you found out through conversations with them, or is it something you were able to infer? I was just curious about how you came to that insight.
Yeah. So in different ways. We learned the hard way. So we also tested ourselves. We didn't see any impact on retention or recruitment or whatever. Secondly, I'm also studying a lot of research and talking to a lot of international companies and discussing some best practices. And for example, McKinsey, for example, also last year did a very big research, and they studied exit reasons of employees. And they found out that the three main reasons were relational. So, for example, sense of belonging, recognition by your team lead, trusting teammates, while all employers were mainly focusing on the transactional factors.
Yeah.
And this sense of belonging, recognition by team lead, was very overlooked and underrated by the employers. And this is, I think, a big issue. And for example, also Gallup showed that more than 70% of the variance in employee engagement is determined by the team lead. So focusing good leadership, focusing good culture was also discussed in the previous session.
Yeah.
Huh? And I think this is also a big challenge for Picnic, and we try to do it on a day-to-day basis. Because I always say, like, engagement is the combination between the head, the logical part, and the heart, the emotions, the relational part. And you need this to create ambassadors. You need this to create people who are really willing to go the extra mile. So avoid that you focus on this dirty, short-term fixes because they don't work. Invest in your people, invest in leadership, and try to strengthen the relationship between your employees, their peers, colleagues, and team leads. Because it takes more time, it's more difficult, but on the long term, it pays off.
It's a theme that has been already sort of organically coming out of the conversations around this sense of belonging and maybe some demographics. Gen Z was one of the topics of the earlier conversations. Maybe recognize and prioritize that more. But in the end, I think it is everybody wants to feel that sense of belonging, and we maybe realized it more through the pandemic era when we were doing a lot of self-reflection.
Definitely.
We didn't talk about this before, but I am curious. What has Picnic done in this sort of in trying to create this sense of belonging that's worked really well, and maybe might be an example for others to take back to their organizations?
Yes, it's a very good question. So this is my main priority at the moment.
Ah.
So we are creating very small teams, so like 10 till 12 shoppers in a warehouse, and they have a fixed team lead, and they always work the same shifts, and they always cooperate. They get budgets on a quarter basis to do events and do nice stuff together.
Oh.
We are really training these team captains in an intensive leadership training program to become a great team lead, to give feedback, provide feedback, to involve their team, to define the purpose of the team, to define the purpose of each individual, so it contributes to the bigger purpose.
Yeah.
So this is at the moment what we are trying to achieve. So everyone, because the main focus is the first 8 weeks, because people come in, and especially if there are like 500 or 600 people working in a warehouse, so you can't get lost, right? So it's very important that already from day one, that there is a team lead who cares about you and gives you attention and supports you.
Yeah.
That there's a buddy who's also in your team and is on the same level, so it's a peer who says like, hey, if there's any issue, you can come to me. Or a buddy who explains the different tasks. And I think this creates a lot of trust and confidence and creates like a sense of psychological safety.
Great. Well, that's it reminds me a little bit almost of my school days. I mean, the buddy system. But yeah, in the end, it is really all about liking the people that you work with, and that's so much about what makes work enjoyable.
Definitely.
So thank you so much. It's been so many insights here. I hope folks here in the audience are able to take some of those back to their teams and make some improvements. And thank you for your time, and thanks to the audience for listening.
Thanks.